If your kids are anything like my kids, I hear Baby Shark at least once a day. Sometimes it haunts my nightmares as well. So for my daughter's second birthday, I decided to make a Baby Shark cake for her because she loved it so much. For the last 2 years, I've been playing around with the hobby of cake making, and every time I make a new cake, I try to do a different technique and learn something new. So this is how I made this Baby Shark cake. I hope you guys like it. Give it a try. And if you have tips on how to make cakes, I would love to hear them because I'm a novice and I'm learning, and I like learning how to make new things every time. And I'm wearing my little Stranger Things shirt, which I got at Target. It's so cute, all the little characters on it. Anyway, without further ado, let's do this cake tutorial. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to layer the 4 levels of cake that I have. I decided to just do chocolate cake, and then I'm going to take my buttercream, and I will put a link for the recipe that I use for buttercream icing in the description below. And I just use the buttercream to secure the cake to the board, and then I start doing my layers. So this cake is going to be 4 layers tall. I would highly recommend getting some simple tools if you're just starting out with cake making, and a leveler for your cake layers I think is a great idea. So I usually just use a bread knife, and I also cut down the sides a little bit just to make the cake shape as nice as possible. And then I'm just going to do a crumb coat where I put the buttercream over the entire cake to make sure all of the little pieces of crumbs get trapped in. And then I just smooth everything over, trying to make the edges kind of sharp, because the nicer your buttercream is under fondant, the better the cake will look overall. Now, I have done this marbling effect once before. I usually buy white fondant and then do my own coloring once I have it. Now, I used quite a bit of fondant to make this marbled effect, probably more than I needed, but I used 3 different colors, a dark blue, a teal, and a white, and I'm just going to kind of twist it together and blend it together so it's going to look like a marbleized ocean when I'm done. Then I'm just going to roll it out to the size that I need for this cake. The thing about fondant that I'm learning is when you add color to it and when you play with it a lot, it tends to start drying and cracking. So you really only have one go at this before the fondant isn't really usable again. And it turns out to be a little bit too dry. All right, so then I'm just going to cover the cake. This is a skill that I'm still learning how to do. I feel like there's a lot of room for learning with this. So you're just going to smooth everything out and then cut away the excess fondant just to make it easier to work with. I always put the cakes in the fridge before I even attempt to cover them, just to make it a solid base. Then I'm going to take some of my white fondant and I'm just going to color a light pink. I got this mold on Amazon, and I will put a link for it in the description below. So I usually just put a little cornstarch inside of these because it helps the shells to come out easier. The first shark I'm going to make for the cake is going to be the mama shark. Now, my daughter has a wooden puzzle with all of the shark pieces. So instead of getting a cookie cutter, I just decided to use the puzzle pieces because it made my life easy. You could use a picture and just cut that out. And then I just used some white fondant to make the belly of the shark. And then I'm just going to attach that piece of the belly to the shark with some water and take out all of my shells and set that aside to let it dry. Then I'm going to do Daddy Shark, who was also blue. I just kind of matched the colors of the puzzle because it just made my life easier to not have to think about it. And then I also set him aside. Now I had extra fondant in lots of different colors, so I decided to make some coral reef designs. So for this one, I just kind of cut it in a long shape with a point on the top, and then I held one end while I twisted the other, and then I let them dry so they could get hardened, and I just made a couple in each color. And then I also decided to make some handmade shells that were a little bit bigger than the ones that I had the mold for. So what you do is you keep a chunkier side on one end and a thinner side on the other. And then from the thin side, you start kind of twirling the fondant in on itself to make a shell. And you just keep going and kind of press it together till it forms kind of like a cone. And then make sure there's no gaps and you have a really pretty shell. And then I just repeated that process a couple times with some different colors of fondant. So the final shark that I made was the actual baby shark. I only did 3. I didn't do grandma and grandpa, mainly because I was pressed for time. And I cut him out the same way I did the others and then kind of just shaped him. I also made some shells in different colors as well, just so I'd have decorations to put on the cake. Then I could have made the eyes from fondant, but I actually had these candy eyes from Halloween that were in various sizes and with eyelashes. So I decided to just use that instead, and I used a little black piece of triangle fondant to be the mouth, and then I just kind of hand cut out teeth for Daddy Shark. And then I did a small mouth for the baby shark and a smaller eye. And then I just shaped it to make his mouth fit. For Mommy Shark, I just used a candy with lashes because I thought it made it look cuter. And I did the same thing for her. I gave her a little mouth as well. And I just used water to adhere all the pieces on. Now I'm going to just put them onto the cake that's marbled to look like the ocean. Since these are dry, you have to be super careful not to crack them and just kind of work into it so it actually sticks on the cake. And then I put Daddy Shark on as well, and then Baby Shark next to him. So for the top, I had a 2 because my daughter Stevie was turning 2, and I just kind of used a marker to say where I wanted to put the cake topper, and then I just used some buttercream icing to go around it, and I mashed up some graham crackers to make crumbs and to make kind of like a sand on the top of the cake. And I just kind of spread that all over, and then I stuck the 2 directly into the center of the cake. So I kind of just used all the shells that I had to just do some various decorations, and I let my older daughter help me with that. To finish the cake off, I kind of just put buttercream icing all around the base and then put extra sand to make it look like the ocean floor, and then I added a few shells to that as well. Then I just took my coral and I cut holes in the cake and then put the coral standing up just to make it look fancier. So there you have it. That was the cake that I made for her 2nd birthday. I think it came out really cute. I definitely need to work on my fondant covering skills because I feel like that's still a little bit of a challenge for me. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.